Okay, so right now I want to talk about chapter 5. I already talked about the chapter 4, basic image processing. We're going to build on top of that one. And of course, when we're learning about file processing, we're going to learn how to read and write binary files and process the image or anything in that matter. And we're going to do that. So we're talking about the building an image processing toolkit. So we're going to be talking about that right now with the chapter 5. We can compare images. We can adjust images, the brightness, the darkness, how we can make it more dark or brighter. We can rotate images. So if I want to compare two images, remember that every image that we're talking about is rows and columns of it's a two-dimensional uh, table. So we have we have the rows and columns. So if I want to compare two images, then the first thing I have to check, they have to have the same, they have to have the same width and the same height. So I want to be sure that I want to I'm checking to see if these two are the same. Again, some of these things is just for the practices to learn how the image processing is working. These are the basic stuff. And maybe you never cross through this problem that you want to compare two pictures to see if they're exactly the same thing. Or maybe you want to do that, in your cell phone or in computer. There are some programs that go around and say, you know what, you have exact same picture in multiple locations. Do you want to merge them or delete one of them, or you have three of the same picture in different locations? So in that case, you want to go through all the pictures and you want to see if they are the same or not. So first thing first, we're going to be checking to see if they have the same width and the same height. So we're going to get the width and height. So in this one, we are creating a class. So let's talk about the function for now. We're creating a function that's going to receive two image objects. We're going to get more detail on those, how we're going to talk about this passing through. Remember about the comments, how we're going to do the doc string. So we're going to put our parameter, return, and those kind of things. So in this case, it's going to return true if they are exactly the same. And it's going to say false is if they are not the same. So we're going to get the width and height of one of them, and then we're going to compare it to the other one. If the width is not the same or the height is not the same, we're just going to stop. We're not going to do anything more. Then we're going to go through the rows and columns. So right now we know they have the same height and width. So when I write a loop, then the height and width is going to work for both of them at the same time. So when I say image 1, get pixel row and column, image 2, get pixel row and column, I don't have to worry about one of them is going to go outside of it because they both are the same. So we go to each row and column. We're starting with the 0 all the way to the height and all the way to the width. And we're going to go to every pixel in the picture. We're going to get their pixel. Now that we have the pixel, we want to go through it and check every color. Remember, we have 3 bytes in each pixel. So we got the pixel. Inside the pixel, we're going to have 3 bytes. And then we're going to go through those 3 bytes to be sure they are all exactly the same thing. So you can think about it. I think there is an area here is talking about tuple. We're going to talk about the tuple next chapter. So when you say get pixel, it's going to return three elements to get. So when we say tuple in Python, this is something that I know a lot of you guys wanted to have in your C++. You can return three things at the same time. And again, we practice this next week, and that's called tuple. So when you are, you're going to receive three things at the same time. So when you want to check the RGB, you're going to go to the first index, second index, third index. That's the way. Of course, in the previous chapter, we talked about some methods to get the red and green and blue. Here we can just go to the index of it and get it. So that's what's happening over here. So going a little more forward, yeah. So if they are anything is different, we're going to return false. If everything went true, then we're going to return true. That means they are exactly the same thing. Okay, now we have some images that might be too dark or too bright. And in this section, we want to adjust the color. So how do we adjust the color? We're going to get some kind of a ratio. So do I want 20%, 15%, 10%, 5%? How much do I want to adjust? And that adjustment can be a percentage. So I can get a number of my color and I multiply it by a percentage. So either I'm going to increase it or I'm going to decrease it. So think about it how we would do it. Remember, the percentage is just a decimal number. That's the way we're going to do it. So it's going to be between negative 100 to positive 100. So 0 to negative 100 are going down, and 0 to 100 is going up. So if I want to increase it by 25%, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me move it out of the way to be sure. So if I want to increase it by 25%, I'm going to get the number that I have for that color, and I'm going to multiply it by 0.25. So I'm getting my red, I'm getting my green, I'm getting my blue. So I'm going to go to each row and column. I'm going to get my pixel. From my pixel, I'm going to get my red. The row and column is going to give me the pixel. So I'm going to get my 3 bytes. And I'm going to get my red, and I'm going to multiply it by 25%. I'm adding to my red. I want to be sure it's integer. I'm going to put it in the new red. So so basically, this would be the same as red times 1.25. If I want to decrease it, I go negative. So I can decrease it that way. So I multiply by a negative number and I add it to the original one. So the question is, remember, we have a limited space in our computer. So if we only have 1 byte for red, 1 byte for green, 1 byte for blue, my range is going to be something. So my range is between 0 and 255. Now, if I'm adjusting, if I'm multiplying by a positive number, there is a possibility that I go over 255. And if it goes to over 255, I don't have a room. There is no room in the computer to save. So my zeros and ones is going to get all mixed up. So it's just going to give me a color that's not going to be even close to what I'm thinking. And the other way around is if I get a negative number, then again, I am putting that negative number, I'm forcing it to be inside the byte, then I'm going to have all kind of issues with it. So when I am doing something like this, I have to keep in mind that there is a possibility that they go outside of the range. So if I am adding, I have to check the upper end, 255. And if I am decreasing, I have to check the zero. So the question is, if I do it, if I go outside of 255, or I go below zero, what do I want to do? I don't have a negative number. I cannot do anything about it. So I basically going to stay the same way I was. So that means if I go below zero, I'm going to set it to zero. If I go above 255, I'm going to set it to 255. So I'm going to be doing those two checks. So whenever I'm doing any kind of a adjustment, I'm going to check it. If it's greater than 255, we're going to set it to 255. If it's less than zero, we're going to set it to zero. So this is the one that was lighter. So we got it and then we multiply by 25%. So this one is 25% positive, lighter. So of course, if we get the new colors, we did adjustments, we got the new colors. So we're going to put it back in the image. And of course, we are creating a new image. I'm going to put it in. Sorry about that. This is a little uh, out of shape. Okay, so this is going to be our file. Again, we are starting with add param. What parameters we get? We are getting a function. We are passing an object of the image, and we are passing the amount. We don't want to modify either one of these things. So whenever we are doing any kind of modification, we're going to create a new image and we're going to return it. If the user want to overwrite this image, that's up to the user. This method that we are writing is not going to modify the parameters that's coming in. So this is the way we're going to create a new image. So we're going to put the stuff on the new image. And then we are doing our adjustments for red and RGB for each one of them. Remember, I don't know inside my the function if this amount is positive or negative. So I'm going to check for both of them. So if somebody uses this function, they pass. So this function can receive a positive number or negative number. So the negative number is going to go down, the positive is going to go up. Because I don't know which one is coming in, we're going to be checking for both of them. So if it goes over 255, we're going to set to 55. If it goes less than zero, we're going to set to zero. And then we're going to set it in our new image. So we go to that row and column. We're going to put these new things in there, and we're going to return this image. Another thing that we can do with the image is to rotate it. So if I want to rotate it, that means what? My new image, the height is going to be the width of the other one, and the width is going to be the height of the other one. So we're going to rotate it. So we're going to get the width and height from the one that we have, the current one, and then we're going to create a new image. So my height and width are going to be reversed. So we're going to go through the original one. Every time we're going to go through original one, we're going to put the row into the new column. And then we're going to do the new row to the column. And then we're going to be basically writing it down. So the key is just to think about it that if I go to the rows, now I'm going to go to the column of the other one. I don't have to go in order for the new one. It can be in any order. So I'm just going to stick with the order of my original one so I don't confuse myself. For my original one, I go through rows, which is this one, and then the column, which is this one. But then every time I come over here, I'm going to set my column and row of the new one, which is going to be a little different because we are writing it on the different directions. So we're just going to get the pixel from the row and column of my original one. We're going to set it with the new row and new column for the new image. That's basically what we do over here. So that's what's happening if you run this one. So if you want to practice on this one, you're going to practice on section 09, processing image .py, and then I give you guys some assignments to work on for this week to work on the image processing. And there are some more advanced ones that we can play with it, but we can start with the basic to see how far we can go with it. Okay, so that's for this one.